Picture this. You sip coffee before work and scroll through the headlines. Inflation bites, conflict grows, and your bank account just took another punch. Now imagine everything you lean on. Job, savings, even family are gone by morning. Would your faith survive the free fall? The story of Job, see Job 1:1, forces that question and refuses to look away. Long before Genesis was penned, Genesis 1:1, a businessman rancher named Job lived large, loved God, and spoiler alert, lost it all. Tonight we step behind the curtain into the council chamber of heaven to see why God allowed the bottom to drop out. What happens there touches your life as well. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them, Job 1:6. Imagine a chamber wider than oceans and taller than galaxies. A crystal floor ripples with light that shifts like the northern lights beneath glass. Columns stretching beyond sight vanish into a ceiling of stars, incandescent beings. The sons of God mentioned in Job 1:6 file their reports on galaxies and governments. The atmosphere shifts. A single figure enters, cloaked in drifting shadow. He is the adversary, Satan, heaven's prosecuting attorney, Job 1:7. He does not barge in, he is summoned. Even evil keeps office hours when God calls roll. This council scene answers a question every stressed parent and overworked professional carries. The universe is not random chaos. It is an ordered kingdom ruled by God, and every power, good or evil, must give an account before the throne. Ephesians 3:10. The Lord looks straight at the accuser and asks, "Where do you come from?" Job 1:7. God never asks because he needs information. His questions are invitations for creatures to reveal their own hearts. Just as he asked Adam, "Where are you?" and Elijah, "What are you doing here?" He now calls the adversary to the witness stand. Satan answers with a shrug worthy of a prowling predator, "I have been roaming the earth and walking back and forth across it." Job 1:7. The Hebrew verbs picture restless motion. He paces, he surveys, he hunts. Peter later paints the same portrait in 1 Peter 5:8, calling the devil a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Yet notice the geography of sovereignty. The tempter can walk the earth, but he cannot rise above the throne room. His leash is long enough to test us, yet never long enough to topple God. For anyone juggling deadlines, mortgages, and midnight anxieties, this moment offers relief. Evil is real and it is personal, but it is not in control. Even here in the highest court of the universe, the accuser must raise his hand before he speaks. The Lord turns from the gathered angels and rests his gaze beyond the courtroom walls. His voice carries a note of fatherly pride. "Have you considered my servant Job?" Job 1:8. He adds that Job stands alone on earth as blameless and upright, a man who fears God and turns away from evil words, first recorded in Job 1:1. 4 qualities, 1 seamless life. Notice who names Job. The accuser never mentions him. God does. Imagine your supervisor praising your integrity before the whole company, or a father cheering the loudest at graduation. That is the warmth behind these words. Yet the spotlight is also a summons to the witness stand. By presenting Job, the Lord invites spiritual cross-examination. The coming ordeal is not payback for secret sin. It is the stage on which real love for God will be proven when every gift is stripped away. If you have tried to live right and still feel the squeeze, remember this moment. Heaven knows your name. Your resilience may become the evidence God uses to silence the accuser. The adversary leans forward with a voice that drips skepticism. Does Job fear God for nothing? Job 1:9. You have placed a hedge around him and his house and everything he owns. You bless the work of his hands, and his herds burst at the seams. But stretch out your hand and strike all he has, and he will curse you to your face. Job 1:10-11. This is the first accusation on record. The devil insists worship is just a paycheck and holiness is hazard pay. He implies that anyone would love God if the perks were big enough. Think of the critic who says Christians cling to faith only for comfort or community. Same script, different century. Satan is challenging the very nature of devotion. Is God still worthy when the gifts are gone? Every angel in the room holds its breath. The question travels through time and lands on us. Would you still lift your hands in praise if the bank account drained and the doctor's report darkened? Is your faith a contract or a covenant? The stakes are cosmic. If even one person can worship without wages, the lie collapses across the universe. Job is about to become that test case, and the courtroom grows silent, waiting for God's reply. The Lord answers with a sentence that draws an invisible fence around the coming storm. Very well, then, everything he owns is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. Job 1:12. With that single decree, the battle lines are set. Wealth can vanish, livestock can perish, houses can collapse. But Job's life is off limits. Evil is unleashed, yet still on a leash. Picture a vicious dog straining against a chain. It can bark and lunge, but only as far as the master allows. In the same way, Satan bolts from the throne room, eager to devastate, yet every step he takes must stay inside God's boundary. This moment reframes suffering for every believer who has ever asked, "Why me?" Hardship is never random shrapnel. It is measured pressure filtered through divine wisdom. The hedge around Job changes shape, but it never disappears. Think about your own limits. The layoff notice stops short of destroying your identity. The diagnosis shakes you, but does not sever your hope. The grief feels endless, yet sunrise still returns. Those borders are not accidents. They are evidence that the shepherd of Psalm 23 still leads even through the valley of the shadow of death. Job's test is set in motion, but so is his testimony. The same is true for you. What God permits, he also purposes, and where he places a boundary, he also promises his presence. Step back from the courtroom and look at the pattern. God knows Job's character, Job 1:8. Satan questions the motive, Job 1:9-11. God permits a trial, Job 1:12. Then history will reveal whether love can survive loss. The pattern still unfolds today. Paul assures us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, Romans 8:28. James adds that the person who perseveres under trial will receive the crown of life, James 1:12. Peter says trials refine faith like fire purifies gold, 1 Peter 1:7. Heaven is so confident in God's grace that it lets our lives become living exhibits. So where are you in that exhibit? Maybe the hedge around your finances has thinned, or the hedge around your health has a gap. Maybe you stand inside a grief so fresh it still echoes. If so, remember the boundary. The enemy can touch circumstances, but he cannot cancel the promise that nothing can separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus, Romans 8:38-39. If you have never trusted Christ, let Job's coming story push you toward the cross where the innocent one suffered for the guilty so that guilty ones could become children of God, 2 Corinthians 5:21. If you already follow him, let this study ignite a deeper hunger to open the scriptures for yourself. God is inviting you into the same fellowship Job will discover when the whirlwind clears, Job 42:5. The storm is about to break. In the next episode, 4 messengers arrive in breathless succession, and every pillar of Job's world crumbles in a single day. Stay with the journey. Let the Bible speak. Your own story might be the next testimony heaven uses to silence the accuser.